Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today. And I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today's is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to the commissioner of the city of Orlando. Do you have any idea what a commissioner does? Well, neither do I. But hey, let's talk to this guy and find out. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing Commissioner Robert Stuart. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so you was as the Commissioner of Orlando District 3. Well, can you explain to our listeners exactly what that means?
Well, you have to first look at Orlando as a city, and then the general role I play is a legislator for District 3. We have 6 districts, and I represent that district at City Council. In a simplistic way, it's similar to the national government in that there's a council that makes decisions on policy and funding. And so that's the 6 council members, and in our case, it's called a mayor council. And so the mayor also serves on that council. So there's 7 of us there, mayor plus 6. I represent District 3, and then there's like 5 others that are on there. So my job is to handle ordinances and finances and budget.
Ah, okay. So how does this job help the community of Orlando?
Well, it's a whole lot. First of all, the general concept of my job is one of twofold. It's either advocacy or policy. So my job is to advocate for those in my district and my city, and what they are doing, and advocate for that. And there is policy, making laws and handling land management, whatever that may be. So one of the things that we deal with is that when you're dealing with land use, city has the right to change, to set up land use. So we can generally call that zoning.
Okay.
So things are zoned for certain purposes. They're zoned for, anything from a retail store to a home. You can't go put a retail store in the middle of a neighborhood because it's not zoned for that. And so, and we try to anticipate that and try to make sure that the city is consistent with that. That would be called land use. If somebody wants to come in and change something, they want to go put a 50-story building next to your home, they have to come to the city, and the city has to make that approval. So that becomes a challenge. Okay. And the other side is ordinances and policy. So when an ordinance comes to us about anything from, let's say, night bars at night to speeding laws, those all come to us separate of land use, and so we approve those ordinances.
Nice. So what are some of the most critically important challenges that you run into when helping others in the community?
Well, the biggest challenge, I will tell you, over the last, I hope that nobody takes it wrong, but over the last 18 years is educating people what I actually do and what my job is. Oftentimes what people want, I shared the story just a couple of days ago. A friend of mine is the mayor of Urasu, Japan. Urasu, Japan is in the Chiba state prefecture. And the system in Japan, it looks a little bit like a McDonald's. There's a national McDonald's, there's a regional McDonald's, there's a state McDonald's, there's a county McDonald's, and there's one. So if you have a problem with a McDonald's, you can go up the ladder and go eventually to corporate headquarters. In Japan, the city reports to the county reports to the state or the prefecture, and the prefecture reports to the national government. Okay. United States is different. The United States has a national government, and what the national government didn't want to do, it gave to the states. And the states divided themselves into counties so they could do things in the state, which makes sense. And then all of a sudden, this group at the grassroots gets developed. That's called a city. They get licensed by the state, but a city can develop because they want more police protection or they want fire protection. They're going to join together to pay for that. So cities are the ground up. So the city doesn't report to anybody. The city reports to the citizens. And a county would too, the same in our case. So it's a little bit less of a corporate structure and much more of a ground up kind of, I would say, a government structure.
Okay.
In our area. So
what kind of issues can a person in your community contact you for?
Well, they contacted me for a ton, and I've spent a lot of time educating them of the kind of things that we do. Some things come to us that are county, and we aren't impacted with the county. But generally speaking, it's traffic, it's safety, crime, it's fire, fire department it has. And then it's all the kind of other small things. They contact me about dogs. Dogs are controlled by the county, not by the city.
Yeah.
But they still contact me. They contact me about speeding on a federal highway. And some areas we can enforce it, some areas we can't. And so those all becomes a matter of what's happening at that location and who's actually responsible for that area. I get those are contacts, and then I get contacted by businesses who want to come into the area. They want to know where they can go, what they can buy, what's already zoned for their use, as opposed to the process for going in and rezoning. And then just recently, I just met with a woman, and there we have a grant process, so we encourage small business, and so we have set aside some money to do that, and you can apply for a grant. So they contact us about those kind of things. So if somebody's coming and wants to come into town and wants to open up a business, we may have some incentive money to help them out for a few days, few years, and help them get their feet on the ground, because we strongly promote small business.
Okay. So what do you do after someone has told you about a real issue that you can solve?
Well, I'm a big believer in that the people that in the city, they kind of own the city. Okay, so my thought generally is that if you have a police issue, the police work for you, so give them a call. If you don't get the quality of a customer service that you think you deserve, then call me, and let me help you with it. But I have people who call and write me about a 911. I mean, you've called the doctor's office before, and the doctor's office says, thank you for calling. If this is a emergency, please to hang up and dial 911. Okay, as if to call the doctor to say that, doctor, I'm having an emergency. Okay, if it's a real emergency, call 911. I'm the same way. Look, if you have an emergency, call the cops. That's what I want you to do. They work for you. If you have a problem with fire, call fire. If you have a problem with transportation, call transportation. And then if you don't get the level of service that you think you deserve, then call me. Let me advocate for you. That's my task is. But all these guys that I deal with in the city, at least in the city of Orlando, all of them say that they work for the citizens at the discretion of the mayor. So that means they work for the citizens. So when trash doesn't get picked up, you know what? You call and pick up, and you call the guy about picking up the trash.
Okay. So I've been trying to learn about government and what it really does. My dad says that they make rules and laws. My mom says that they make programs to help people. My grandpa says that they just take all your money. So can you tell me what government actually does?
They all do all three. So
Okay.
we don't take all of your money. But I will tell you that what we do is we provide services. It costs money for those services. We provide safety. It costs money for cops. We provide fire. It costs money for that. Somebody's got to pay that. So we tax to accomplish that task. And at the same time, we want our constituents to be much more self-sufficient. We want them to not have to rely on the government. So we have programs. So the idea is that we have job placement programs. We have programs to help kids read and help kids learn computers, all the way to help them learn a job skill. And the idea is that we don't want them to be on essentially on the public dole. We want them to get off. How can we accomplish that task? So we try to invest back in the people to accomplish that. So those are programs that we do. And College Park Neighborhood Association over here is a great one. I mean, we have an after-school program for kids. We independently raise money, not through taxes, but through contributions for kids who can't afford daycare or after-school care. We use that money to pay for their after-school care. And at College Park Middle, we have a program called the After School All Stars. It was started by Arnold Schwarzenegger in California. We've adopted it for the state of Florida. We're the lead for the state of Florida. And what we do is we provide after-school care for middle school kids in about 8 or 9 schools in the Central Florida area, all of them in the city of Orlando. And the object of those 8 or 9 is to be able to keep them out of just, fooling around in the afternoon. So let's help them with your homework. Let's give them a place to play and get rid of the energy, and let's get them home by 5 o'clock. Okay. So we do that with middle school kids. Now, what the byproduct of that is, there's less crime. The byproduct is that kids are finding jobs earlier. The byproduct is they're out in the community. So when you look at a program, we see it as an investment. So answer is we could just do crime, and when there's a crime, we go solve the problem, right? What happens if we can get ahead of the crime? So could we in fact keep the crime from preventing? If it does, it makes our cops more efficient.
Okay, so how does government help kids, and what can kids do to learn more about the government?
Well, let me answer your second question first. This is a good example of that. People need to understand what government does. What's occurred over the course of the past 30, 40, 50 years of education is that when we used to, when I went to school, we had an entire class devoted to civics. Now that has been essentially watered down, and so you have to kind of push that back in. It's generally government history now. It used to be government was separate of history, so you have to learn, and you learn the unique differences between the governments and what they do. Okay, so that's an important part is the education, and then the second is to learn that the fact that in an area like ours, there's a lot of things for you to be involved in as a kid. There's projects to be available. There's programs that you can be available in. You want to go pick up trash every Saturday. There's a group someplace every Saturday that can help pick up trash if that's important to you. Okay. If you want to go around Lake Ivanhoe and help clean up the lake, and that's important to you, we have people that do that almost every month. So the idea is that those are programs that we provide back to where kids can get engaged in that process. And then I think just learn how what you can do, and it's ranging from the smallest things to just asking the question. Be curious about what do I do about this crack in the sidewalk? How do I get it fixed? And then who do I call? And generally speaking, I'm the first line of defense when somebody calls, and I try to get them to the right department, and then I back off. And if it doesn't get the level of service, I step back in again because the service that's what's important. I want to get that done. So,
service over self.
Yeah.
You learned that. So, what is the best part about working as the commissioner of Orlando?
Oh, I think the people. In my district, I only have about 52,000 people. 52,000 are my closest friends. So, but I think it's the people. Having them catch a vision, having them go do stuff, having me sit in the background and say, okay, look, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? How can I help you accomplish that? I don't need the glory. I've never asked for it. I just want to get things done. And so if the community is stronger by itself, by motivating itself, so let me help direct it to accomplish that task. And I work very closely with our neighborhood associations that are around and basically say, what do you want to do? Okay, here's how you want to do it. Here's how you do it. Let me know how I can help. I can help you raise money, or I can try to promote it and get people there. We try to make sure that, at least I try to make sure that I'm engaged with the community as much as possible.
Okay. Well, now here's something a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
These are quart canning jars you're looking at right now. We'll be putting away a lot of cooked beans.
And we are back here talking with Robert Stuart. Robert's the commissioner for District 3 for the city of Orlando. Okay, so what motivated you to decide to work for the city of Orlando?
Well, it motivated me to run probably more than anything else. Deep down inside, I'm born and raised here. I'm born and raised in College Park. I've been involved and engaged in the community, everything from umpiring baseball to all kinds of stuff. And so when I began to start seeing some things happening in the city that I didn't like, I said, if I might as well run. I mean, if nobody else is going to run and do what I want to do, then I'll do that myself. So so I decided to run and ran against an incumbent and beat her, and then have been elected 4 additional times. Now I'm serving, just completed my 18th year as a commissioner.
That's a
longer than you've been around.
Long time.
Right?
Long time.
Hey, that's okay.
It is okay. Like, wow, that's a long time. So, I met you at a park reopening, and well, I researched things about a commissioner, and most show photos of really, really large meetings all the time. What other things besides being in meetings do you have to do?
Well, I meet with staff, and we, like I mentioned before, we review ordinances that are coming through. We look at the impact of those ordinances, both financial and impact on the community. I do a lot of that. I'm on a lot of committees that trying to move projects forward. I do attend a lot of community meetings, but that's not only to provide information to the community, but also to get input back from them. So that's an important thing to do. And I get involved in, like, well, an example, we worked on the playground up at Dartmouth Park.
Yeah.
So when we got there, we decided that we were going to put money aside to do a playground, right? So the next thing we do is they come to me and say, okay, look, here's the general plan, here's the general budget. Are you okay with this? And I go, yeah, fine. So the next step is to take it to the community. So we have a community meeting out literally on the park, invite the entire park to come by, show them what it's going to look like, give them a chance to see the type of equipment there, give them a chance to give us their input on the type of equipment they would like. We did that there. Then we put together a plan, came back and brought the plan back to them. Then we ordered it, and then we tried to install it. So that whole process, I would like for it to take a couple of days, but the whole process took about 18 or 19 months. So from beginning to end. And so that requires for somebody to step up. It's hard to step up and then take the lead for what you want to try to, what the neighborhood wants to accomplish.
Oh, yeah.
We're working on probably in my district, there's probably 8 or 10 of those types of things always going on in some stage or another. We just finished the packing district as an example. Have you been up there yet?
No.
All right, so go to Princeton and turn left, and all that construction that's going on over next to 441, that's called the packing district. It was an area that was purchased by years ago by Dr. Phillips, and they have now decided to develop it. And inside there, we put a 90-acre park, and inside that 90-acre park is going to be a 2-acre park, a dog park. Okay. We also have in that park is about a 2-mile walking loop. We have an outside pavilion amphitheater. And then adjacent to that, not on our property, but adjacent to it, is the new YMCA. We moved the Orlando Tennis Center over there and then there's some housing there. And then back on the south side of that is the new section from Four Rivers called Four Roots. And so all that's happening on this one. It's about 124 acres total, but 124 acres of land, and that's in all kinds of stages. That's about a 5 or 6 year project. With the construction, it'll be another 5 or 6 more years, and so it's always in some type of flux. Wow. And so we work on that like all the time. So we're building the roads, we're building the roundabout, we're doing all that stuff because that's what the impact fees from the developer pays for. So we're doing all that. So that takes time up to do it, and it takes a little bit of time, So it takes several hours a week, but that's several hours a week over 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, wow.
So
do you have to do a lot of training or go to college to do this type of work?
You don't have to. I would recommend that if you're going to do this kind of work, you ought to have some leadership experience. A lot of people just want to step in and do it because they see what I do and think it's easy. It's not easy, and it's not easy because you have to understand what leadership is and how to lead people. I'm a pretty good manager, but I like to see myself as a better leader. And what a leader does is he finds. In my case, he finds the common things we can accomplish together, and he pushes those ahead, and then and watches them move forward. A manager is the kind of guy that steps in front and says, "Here, I'm going to tell you how to do it, and we're going to accomplish it. And my answer is I don't want to do that. There's things that need to get done, and I don't have all the ideas. And at the same time, if you're willing to put the sweat equity into going doing something, I'm going to give you every benefit of the doubt. And so we're going to let that move forward. Okay.
So to get this job, you had to win an election. Is that hard to do?
Yeah, it was difficult. Wow. When I ran, it was a highly contested election. It was the most money ever raised for a commission race ever, and this is his Orlando. And since then, it has continued to go up. And it requires that you go to neighborhoods. When I ran the first time, I walked literally every household in my district, and in that was, at the time there was about 38,000 people and roughly about 20,000 households. And so we walked that entire area. We walked it 4 times. So dropping a flyer off, telling people, come to vote, we want you to vote, please vote for me. And had a real good success with that.
Wow. To every single house.
Every household. Everyone they would let us to. Some apartments, some guys don't let us in there, but every household they would let us go into, we would went up and at least left a flyer for them if we didn't talk to them directly.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we in the industry, it's generally called retail politics, where you kind of do stuff, where you have to kind of go and meet people. When you get to the higher levels, you lose a lot of that connection to the people.
Okay, so you have been reelected to office 4 times. Do you plan on running again?
My wife says I'm not running again. No, probably not. When I finish my term, I'll have finished 20 years, and that's a good run. And there's some things still I want to do with my career before I go to the nursing home.
Well, what things are left that you want to accomplish after 5 terms in office?
Well, we have a lot of little things that we kind of started about 4 or 5 years ago. We're redoing a couple of parks in College Park. We're redoing some parks over in the Rosemont area. We are redoing some roads down Edgewater Drive and down Corrine Drive. We're doing a lot of work with our main streets. I want those to be really kind of mature. And then we have the Packing District, which is now kind of our own Northwest Regional Park. So we want to make sure that's being used adequately. And then you have all the other little stuff that you do, fixing the roads and making sure all that kind of stuff happens that people need to. But those are the kind of things I'd like to see. When I leave office, I want those kind of things to be accomplished so I can kind of turn to each other and say, look, we did a lot, and we're happy about what we accomplished.
Nice. So what is the hardest part about working in this field of government politics?
Things go much slower than you ever would imagine. When you get elected, you think you're going to jump in and you're going to be able to just do whatever you want as quick as you can. And that's not quite the case. A good example with Albert Park. We're going to work on Albert Park. It's going to take about 4 years to do Albert Park. The tree came down. The tree's not going to survive, and so we're eventually going to take it out. But when we take it out, I want to replace it with something, right? Yeah. Well, when it came down, there was no money or budgeted for the park. So we have to first then go and figure out what the community wants. Then we come back and have to design it. Then we have to get it quoted, have to find somebody who's going to do it, have to find out what the amount of money is going to be there, have to allocate the money, and all that ends up a step. It seems like every time you do another step, it's another month down the road. Yeah, and so it just challenged. But at the same time, it's also a generational change. You don't impact Albert Park but once in a generation. Yeah. So when you impact it, let's impact it one time, let's just do it right. But it's you go out and do a bid as an example. You put out a bid call and we want at least 3 competitive bids. If you don't get 3 bids, what do you do? And so in today's work environment with construction, it's hard to get everybody to respond. And so you throw it back out on the street, you throw it back out on the street again. What I just told you was 8 months. So from one beginning to the end, have to do it 3 or 4 times. And you're 8 months farther down. Now, 8 months later means the prices have gone up over the last 8 months. And now you haven't got the budget. So now you got to go figure out how to get the budget. So all those little details can really bog you down if you don't kind of, as my brother would say, keep your eye on the ball. The object is to get those things accomplished.
Okay. Well, what's the craziest thing that's happened while you were doing your passion?
Oh gosh, I don't know. You should have sent these questions to me before, so I could think of what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. I tell you what, my first campaign. I tell this story often. My first campaign, I walked up to a door in College Park, and the lady, the dogs are barking. She's got the door cracked, and I'm trying to slip her a flyer saying, "Hi, I'm Robert Stuart, and I'm running for election, and I'd like your support." And she says, "Okay," and she kind of cracks the door, and cracks it just enough for the dog to put the nose in, and the next thing you know, the dog is gone down the street. And I said, "Oh my, I'm so sorry." She goes, "You catch that dog, you got my vote." I said, "Yes, sir." So we took off, and I started running after this dog, and about 4 or 5 people saw me, and they knew who I was, and they couldn't figure it out. One lady stopped up ahead, opened the car door. The dog jumped right in the car door. It came back. I walked it up, and I said, "Okay, now, do I have your vote?" And she says, "Yes, sir, you have my vote." So I've chased dogs for a vote.
Wow.
So that's kind of crazy.
What would you do for a vote?
Yes, I would chase a dog.
That's funny. So if someone wanted to work towards doing this for a living, what should they do first?
Well, first of all, you shouldn't do this for a living. One of the things when I decided I was going to go work for the city commissioners are a part-time job. It's not a full-time job, and it's designed specifically that way. The mayor is a full-time job because he runs the city, but the commissioners aren't a full-time job. And the reason for that, I think, is deep down inside that it puts us in the role of management. We aren't managers, okay? So the idea is that what's best for the city? The best for the city is for me to have another job and to bring those skills, bring those challenges, bring those things that happen to me every day up to the dais as a normal citizen. That's what the goal is. So I think the important thing is to have people that have another job, that bring another skill set, and so that when they sit on the dais together, that they bring a variety of skills that are representative of our city. If you begin to start paying, this is part of the challenges you have in Washington, D.C. If you begin to start paying people enough money to do just that job, they will do all they can to keep that job. And so I think in this case, we don't want people in our local community to spend their time trying to keep their job. We want them to spend their time representing the community that they have, and so I think it's important to be part-time, and so find another passion, and then let that passion lead you into this.
Okay, so who can you say was the person that helped drive your passion the most?
Probably my mom and dad. I grew up; they were very active growing up. Again, I'm in College Park, and I've gone to Princeton and Lee at the time, and Edgewater, and then went to University of Florida, and came back here. And so I think probably mom and dad were the ones that were closest. They taught us that our task, our legal tender, if you want to call it that, to our community is to give back. And so this is our way of accomplishing that task. And so my dad used to often say in his business that his commitment back to the community is the gift he gives back because of the living he earned from the community. And so it's always this kind of reciprocal back and forth. And so and that's important. And then I've had other mentors along the way, my brothers, my friends. My wife has continued to support me for almost 50 years now. So those have all been important.
Okay, so can you provide an example of a situation that didn't go as planned? What'd you learn from it?
Oh gosh, there's hundreds of those. When I go into a meeting, I'm expecting certain things to come out of it, and if it doesn't come out, I'm not a happy camper.
Yeah.
I want stuff to happen. I want to move forward. At the end of a meeting, my answer is, okay, what are the next tasks? Who's got the next task? What do we do? Let's meet again. What time are we meeting again? If that doesn't happen, I feel like we're not accomplishing anything. And that's my type personality. When things don't go the way I want it to, that's when I get really frustrated. I also get frustrated when somebody else steps in any kind of situation and assumes an authority over something that's not their authority. They just come in and decide this is what we're going to do, and they don't have the authority to do that. My dad taught me a long time ago that with authority, with responsibility comes authority, with authority comes responsibility. And so those go hand in hand to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. And so the idea is you can't ask somebody to go do something if you don't give them the authority to go do it. So hold them responsible and give them the authority. And then as a good manager, I would want to check up on them, make sure they're doing the right thing, and then provide help. I can do that. Now, that's kind of managing our neighborhood associations. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? How can I help? What's the next steps? If you need my help, let me know. If you don't need my help, that's fine. Just keep me posted. And that's kind of, I'm trying to manage those groups so they can accomplish more in their own community.
I see now. So what's the best advice you've ever received? And who gave you that advice?
I quote this almost every day, if not every week. The best advice I got from my brother Charlie. He said there's the 5 most important words in life are simply this: everybody is not like me. So every time that you want somebody to go do something and they don't do it, you turn around and go, wait a second, why don't you do this? Well, and the answer is because they're not like you. Everybody's not like you. You would do it. I would do it.
Yeah.
But they're not doing it. So how do I get them to accomplish the goals we want them to accomplish? And so that's probably, that gives you a chance to kind of understand that there's another person who is valued, who is motivated a different way than you are, but they're not like you. So since they're not like you, they're not going to act the same way you do. They're not going to react the same way you do. So how do you get them to accomplish the goals in their own personality, in their own strengths?
Okay. What message do you want to tell children all over the world about doing the work that you do?
Well, I think the message is that you want to care about people. You want to find that vehicle that helps you express that care and that service to one another. You want to make sure that people are valued in what they do. It's because I deal with so many different organizations. Rotary is a good example of that, where Rotary's demand or Rotary's calling is to serve others above yourself. So if you can find that balance in your life where you can serve others, that I promise you will impact the rest of your life and give you a level of value for your life that you wouldn't normally have.
Oh, yeah. Well, on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills. And we're back here with Commissioner of Orlando District 3, Robert Stuart. Now, Robert, what's the favorite part of your day?
Oh, I don't know. I'd probably say dinner. I get to spend time at home with my wife and relax. That's probably the favorite part of the day. The other part is probably I do a little bit of exercise. Do a little bit of cycling, indoor cycling, stationary bike, and it's it lets me think about what I want to do. So, yeah.
Now we see how people can contact you about needs for the city, but why should a kid contact you?
I think kids see stuff in their community differently, and I think it's much times more right than wrong. They see something, they go, "Why is this way?" Kids believe strongly in fairness. They believe strongly in being treated equal. They don't see those same kind of things that have been brought up to a bunch of adults. So when they see somebody that's not being treated fairly, they come tell me. It's great. I want to be able to help. Let's see if we can do that. If they'll see a sidewalk that's broken, and I'll give you an example. As a group I dealt with, I worked with at the Christian Service Center. I was executive director for 25 years, and we had one of the kids, which is just a perfect way to do it. We used to do a clothing drive for kids and whatever. This is one of the kids of a family of one of our friends turned to his mom and said, "Mom, we're getting ready to buy new shoes for school. My old shoes are still good. Can they use those down at the Christian Service Center?" And she said, "Well, yeah." Well, he said, "I'll bet you there's a bunch of my friends are the same way." And so he then decided that he would go to all of his friends. He would give them all a popsicle for every pair of shoes they gave him. and called me up and said he had some shoes, and he brought down 300 pairs of shoes. Now, he saw that need because he looked at his feet and said, those shoes are fine. What do I do with them? And so he began to start mobilizing the community. And for, I would say, probably 6, 7, 8 years, we would get 500 or 600 pairs of shoes. And almost invariably, they're all kids' shoes, which is what we could use.
Yeah.
And be able to pass them out to people who didn't have shoes.
Wow.
So he saw a need and said, there's no barrier here. An adult would say, well, I've got to go now. I got to go ask somebody. I got to go ask these kids, and what are they going to do? Are they going to show up? He said, there's no barrier. I'm going to figure out how to make it work. And so I think kids
are the way.
they just don't have that kind of ingrained stuff that they've grown into yet. I like that part.
Well, what was that one thing that has happened in your career that you will never forget?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I had an opportunity to meet President Obama. That was nice.
Wow.
Had a opportunity to spend some time with Governor Bush, not President Bush, but Jeb Bush. Those were important people. I don't know. I get a chance to spend time with a lot of people and try to learn from them, and that's an important thing to me. But I don't know that. Trying to think of it, one in particular. I'll think one after we leave. So I'll call you back and you can put it on the air.
Okay. So what's the biggest mistake that you've ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. What was the biggest mistake I've ever made? I try not to dwell on any mistakes I've got, Tiberius. Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate you bringing that up to me. Let's see. Let me think for a minute. I can't think of one. I may come back to that question
Okay.
You call that a Dan Rather question?
Yeah.
Really? Dan Rather's question.
Dan Rather.
The Dan Rather question is, I'm here from 60 Minutes and I have a few questions to ask. That's the Dan Rather question, okay?
So when you're not working, what do you do for fun?
I play golf.
Wow.
I play golf. I try to play at least once a week, and I try to go out very early in the morning. Try to get through by 9:00. And try to walk, and so I try to get a couple of miles of walking in. So when I'm not at home, I try to hit a golf ball. I don't know how much longer my body's going to let me do that, so I want to do it as often as I can.
You're kind of like me with bowling.
You like bowling?
Yeah.
My son was on the bowling team at Edgewater. He was. He lettered in bowling.
Has a bowling team?
Edgewater High School has a bowling team, and this past year they won the state championships.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You need to change your attitude and get up there.
Yeah. So, do you play video games? And if you do, what is your favorite
I don't play
one?
video games.
Man.
I'll play some games on my phone like Candy Crush, but that's all I'll do.
That counts.
No.
That counts. What's your level?
I'm about 1,600. So, but that's not very good compared to guys who played a lot.
No, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's not. That's just I played it a long time.
Okay, so what's your favorite book to read?
I have a bunch. I like reading historical fictions, and then I teach Bible studies. So I spend a lot of time doing research, and reading the Bible, and doing biblical research, if you want to call it that. So, and then a good friend of mine is a counselor in town, and he's got some really good books that really kind of help focus kind of where you want to go in life, and he shares those with me, and I share similar books with him. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid show, okay? That one story that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
I can't tell you that. I can tell you. Okay. Here's something you'll get a kick out of. Which you won't remember. You won't remember this, but it's not in my bio. I have a twin sister.
Really?
Yes. And we just celebrated our birthday last week, and we celebrated our 140th birthday. So you now know how old I am. And so I have a twin. So in growing up, I'm the youngest of the twins, but in our family there were 6 kids. I'm the fourth boy, and I had a younger sister that was 7 years younger than I. So there were a ton of us going around. So there's a lot of little family stuff that happened growing up. The occasion where my sister was. My mom told the story. She was dragging me down to Lake Ivanhoe to go look at something at Lake Ivanhoe, and we're too young to go down there. Clearly too young to go. And my mom is screaming, yelling, "Where are you going? Where are you going?" And as she's dragging me, she's yelling, "He made me go. He made me go." And so I thought, okay, that's what my life has been like with my twin sister. She runs out, pulls me aside, and then blames everything on me. So. That's been fun. We have a big family who've been very active in the community, and so we've got a lot of little things that a lot of things that we do together, which is kind of nice.
Nice. So, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
Okay, so you don't know this. I'll share something else with you. When I was 14, you're 14, right?
I'm 12.
No, you're 14. Okay, so when I was 14. I started umpiring Little League baseball.
Wow.
And I umpired all the way until 2019, and that means I umpired for 52 years. So umpired Little League baseball for 52 years, and did all levels of Little League baseball and all levels. In fact, I did other baseball too, but mostly in Little League baseball. So I did the World Series 3 times, did the Little League World Series in Williamsport, and spent time up there. And I used to. When I get a chance to talk with a crowd, I will remind them that the Little League rule book is a whole lot like the city ordinances of the city of Orlando. You write a law and you try to anticipate every time the law is going to be used. Same with the rule book. There are some laws that simply, they're too easy to misunderstand. Then there's this gray area, and you have to figure out what the gray area is. And the gray area really is intent. Okay? So, baseball's the same way. There's 4 balls, 3 strikes, ball's fair or foul. It's pretty simple, okay? And then there's this whole gray area of judgment. And so I find myself oftentimes looking at the laws of the city the same way I look at the rules of the Little League rule book. And so, but I used to teach umpiring and spent a lot of time doing that. And I'm still trying to get back in after COVID, but I think they think that with COVID, they think I died because they quit calling me.
Wow. What is your Facebook or website for those listeners who want to follow you?
City of Orlando, I think, is District 3, or I think it's ORL District 3. But the easiest way to get to all of those is to go to my City of Orlando website, which is orlando.gov, and then do the search engine for Robert Stuart, and then what will come up is my master page, and all those are linked on there.
Ah, okay.
So
what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
Why am I here?
To ask you about your job.
Oh, that's a good question. Why am I here? That would be. We'll start with that. Okay, so Tiberius, Robert, why are you? And the answer is I don't know, because you cornered me at Dartmouth Park and said I want you to be on my show. I said okay, fine, I'll be glad to.
Corner you.
Oh, you did too. You stuck a microphone in my face and said, I do a show. Can you come? I'm teasing you. But yes, I
didn't really corner you. I mean, I guess with the playground and everything, I guess.
Yeah, you did. Oh, you definitely cornered me. You definitely cornered me and pulled me aside, and then said, "Oh, by the way, I do a weekly
radio show." Yeah.
Radio show, and I'd like to have you be on. And I was stupid enough to. I mean, I was kind enough to say yes. That's what I meant to say.
Well, thank you, Robert, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Yes.
Okay.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
Tiberius's favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And thank you, Robert, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, we're going to do some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve. And today, we're going to talk about an election Didn't you have to do one of those?
Who?
You.
Yes. No, I didn't. Mine was 2 years ago. The
Well-
mayor did.
Okay, well, there are two candidates, Alex and Taylor, running for the position of president in the upcoming student council election at Maple Middle School. On the election day, 320 students cast their votes. Alex received 60% of the votes, and Taylor received the rest. How many votes did Alex win by?
20%. 64.
Okay, well, first this is a real world problem because there are tons of elections that need people to be able to tell.
You didn't want the answer? You didn't want the answer?
No, it's fine. It's
Okay,
fine. We can take the answer.
I didn't know if you want the answer or not. That's okay.
Well, first, this is a real world problem because there are tons of elections that need people to be able to tell how many votes someone won by. Like you.
Yeah.
So, to solve this, you first have to figure out the total amount of votes per person. Alex received 60% of the vote, so you need to times 320 times 0.6, or you can just do some reductive reasoning to know that 320 divided by 2 is 160, and that's 50%, and 32 would be another 10%, so 160 plus 32 is 192 votes.
That's new math. A good try. I'll do it in the old math way.
Well, now we know that Taylor received the rest, so 160 minus 32 is 128. Now to determine the difference, you would take the 192 and subtract the 108 and get 64. Wait, did I just use another trick? I can just use another trick to get that so fast. So I know the difference was 20%, like you did, and 10% was 32, and then 20 would just be 2 times that, or 64, like you said.
Right.
Well, this is a great example to show that there are more number of ways to get one math problem, the solution to it. And you can use the one that works faster for you. So it's a lot easier. So, Robert, did you ever run for student council when you were in school?
I did. I ran for student council in junior high school and in high school.
Wow.
So I lost
you
in
really
junior.
like winning the elections.
I lost in junior high, and but then I won. I won in my class. I think I was class vice president in my sophomore class, and I was class president in junior class.
Wow. Man. Now, Robert, my teacher said that I would use math every day. How do you use math in your work?
Math is not designed to teach you numbers. Math is designed to teach you how to think.
That's true.
So
That is really true.
you take geometry to teach you how to prove. You take algebra to teach you how to think. It has nothing to do with numbers.
Yeah.
So when I tutor math, I used to tutor math for 20 years. It's all about understanding what it's trying to teach you. And then once you understand that, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
So if 60% of the votes are cast and 40% of the other, 60 and 40 equal 100%. So what's the difference between 60 and 40? 20. Okay, so 20 times the total balance is 20 times 32, right? The fastest way to do it is take 10 and double it. 32 double it, 64. Why did it take me so long to explain it? It takes me longer to explain it than to actually do it.
Well, viewers need
But
to know.
this choice you can take, which is new math, is let's take 60% of 120 and take 40% of 120 and subtract the two. That's not the question you ask. You didn't ask that distribution. You ask what's the difference in the total votes. So you get the total votes faster by 60, 40 times total 320.
Yeah, but some people do it the other way.
I know, but that's because they are trying to figure out how to do math by numbers and not math by thinking.
By actually doing it. Yeah. So thank you so much, Robert, for your help with Math Corners. And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and ability. This week, we're going to talk about integrity. For me, I think integrity is doing what is right even when no one else is looking. The qualities of integrity is honesty, sincerity, truthfulness, and fairness. This week at school, we were all at recess, and then we were just playing around, but then, on accident, one of the sports equipment went over the fence and into the street. Oh no! What were we going to do without the football? Well, we had told one of the teachers instead of going and grabbing it ourselves. We told the teacher, and he went over and got it for us, so it was quite nice to get it back. And this shows integrity by telling the teacher what had happened instead of getting it ourselves and maybe getting in trouble. Well, at least we can go back to playing ball. Well, Robert, did you see your use integrity at all this week?
I think you use it all the time. You're right. Integrity is doing what is right when nobody's looking. It's doing what's right when you don't care who gets the credit. And it's I'm a member of a college fraternity, and there were 7 virtues that we called, as opposed to the 4 virtues of the lion. And one of the virtues is integrity, and that virtue is simply to be able to know people can count on you for doing the right thing because they have seen a history of you doing the right thing. So honesty is a little different. They're all just a little bit different. They all tie together, just like the heart of a lion ties together. But integrity is one of those things where you just want to do the right thing. And it's hard to do when you're driving in the city of Orlando.
Oh, yeah. Well, of all of the heart of a lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most, not do the most?
Go back up and tell me. It's leadership.
Integrity, obedience, and ability.
I think I see leadership more, only because I deal with groups where there are leaders there. Some are good, some are not so good, and I see that more. Integrity is something you just kind of learn about somebody, at least in my opinion. And leadership is something you can see and identify.
Okay. We should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Yes.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Commissioner Robert Stuart for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking with you today. I think I learned a lot about being a commissioner and how that work helped shape the future of Orlando. Do you mind giving your social media and website again?
ORL District 3, spelled out District 3. And I think it's Facebook. But anyway, go to cityoforlando.gov. That's the fastest way to get in touch with me.
Okay. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, KN 1098, Soul Radio 24/7, Easy Way TV, and all the other stations that air on my show. Please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. We finally hit 500 subscribers. Well, Robert, have you subscribed yet?
Not yet. I will subscribe before I get to the car.
Okay. Oh, and leave me a comment if you want to work in the political field. Also, be sure to listen next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius